Millionaire brought his simple secretary to a business dinner froze when she arrived like a goddess. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The soft hum of conversation and the clinking of polished silverware drifted through the upscale Manhattan restaurant. Warm amber lights glowed against marble walls, turning every table into a small island of luxury. People in tailored suits moved like they belonged there, perfectly confident in the world of high ceilings and expensive wine. But Mia Hart did not feel like she belonged here at all. Her reflection in the tall glass door had told her the truth before she walked in. Thrift store blouse, reheeled pump's hair brushed 3 times to hide the loose strands she could not afford to cut. She drew a shaky breath and whispered the reminder she had repeated since leaving her tiny apartment. You promised yourself, Mia. You said you would try. She stepped inside, clutching her small notebook to her chest, her heartbeat loud enough to drown out the music. She was here for one reason. Her boss, Alex Grant, the tech millionaire whose company she worked for as a junior secretary, had asked her to attend a business dinner to take minutes and stay simple. His exact words. Her fingers curled tighter around the notebook at the memory. Mia scanned the room, murmuring to herself, "Table 9. Table 9. The words felt like a spell to keep her from turning around and running back home. She spotted the table tucked in the corner, where Alex stood checking his phone, shoulders squared inside a perfectly cut charcoal suit. For a moment, the world went quiet. Alex Grant, her boss, a man who always seemed composed, distant, and far too busy to notice anyone outside his level. To him, she was just simple. Mia, the quiet girl who filed reports and blended into background walls. She wondered if he had even seen her face clearly before today. Mia took a deep breath, adjusted the strap of her purse, and began walking toward him. Her heels clicked unevenly on the floor, her nerves making each step feel heavier. When she reached the table, she forced a polite smile. "Good evening, Mr. Grant." Alex finally looked up, and for a second, just a second, there was something unreadable in his eyes. Surprise, confusion, she could not tell, but it vanished quickly behind his usual calm expression. "You made it," he said, slipping his phone into his pocket. His voice was even professional, the same tone he used in meetings. "I need you to take notes and handle schedules if they come up. Just keep things simple tonight." There it was again. Simple. The word slid under her ribs sharper than it should have been, but she nodded anyway. Of course. A waiter approached, gesturing toward the private dining area reserved for their meeting. Alex glanced at Mia briefly, as if assessing whether she could keep up in a room full of executives and venture capitalists. She straightened her posture, lifting her chin with quiet resolve. She would not fade tonight. She refused to. As they followed the waiter deeper into the restaurant, Mia tried to steady her breath. The air smelled of steak searing and aged wine, and her pulse matched the rhythmic beat of clinking glasses. She told herself to focus. Focus on work. Focus on proving she was capable of more than filling calendar slots. But then the double doors to the private dining room opened, and something inside her shifted. Everyone looked up. For the first time since meeting Alex Grant, she felt the weight of an opportunity rather than the weight of her insecurities. She did not know it yet, but this night, the one she feared she would not survive, was the night everything in her life was about to change. And the moment she returned to that room, Alex would freeze like he had never frozen before, because he had no idea who Mia Hart truly was, and he was about to find out. Mia followed Alex into the private dining room, the door closing softly behind them, muting the sounds of the main restaurant. A long mahogany table stretched across the room, set with crystal glasses and plates that looked too perfect to touch. Executives in tailored suits chatted in low, confident voices, barely noticing her presence. She exhaled quietly. That was normal. People rarely noticed her. Alex guided her toward 2 seats near the center. He spoke to her without looking directly at her, his attention already drifting toward the arriving partners. "Sit here. I will introduce you if needed," he said. "Yes, Mr. Grant," Mia replied softly, opening her notebook and clicking her pen once to steady her nerves. She watched him move through the room with practiced ease. He shook hands, exchanged a few clipped words, gave the kind of polished smiles powerful men carried like armor. He fit perfectly in this environment. She did not. But she had promised herself she would not disappear tonight. As the dinner began, conversations overlapped like waves, rising and falling around her. Mia focused on her task, jotting down points when Alex leaned toward her to quietly recap a figure or emphasize a sentence to record later. The scent of roasted garlic and butter brushed past her every time a waiter moved behind her. Halfway through the evening, one of the partners, a man with silver hair and sharp eyes, leaned over to Alex. "Is she new? I do not think I have seen her before." Alex replied in the same mild tone he used earlier. "That is Mia. My secretary. She keeps things organized. Very simple and efficient." The word hit her again. Simple. Mia lowered her gaze to her notes, swallowing the familiar sting. She wondered if he knew how easily he said it, how lightly the word fell from his mouth, as if simplicity was all she could ever offer. She focused on writing, letting the rhythm of the pen calm her pulse. A few minutes later, dessert trays were brought in, and talk turned from budgets to stories. Mia listened quietly as the executives compared ski trips, vineyards, and homes in Aspen. Their world felt like a distant planet. She had never even been on a plane. When she looked up, she caught Alex watching her, not with impatience or criticism, but with a flicker of something she could not name. Curiosity, softness. A question. He looked away quickly as if he had not meant to be caught. Just then, a server dropped a stack of dessert plates. The sharp crash snapped everyone's attention to the far end of the room. The server froze, cheeks burning, scrambling to gather the broken porcelain. Before anyone could whisper a complaint, Mia stood. "I can help," she said gently. The server looked up, startled. Mia knelt beside him without hesitation, gathering large pieces so he would not cut himself. Her movements were calm, efficient, and kind. The room fell quiet for a moment, every executive watching the girl they had barely acknowledged step in with effortless grace. When she rose, Mia handed the server the last stack. "It is all right. Things break." Her voice was soft but steady. Alex stared at her. His expression had changed slightly but unmistakably. Something in him cracked open, the first fracture in the shell he had worn for years. He had never noticed her like this. She returned to her seat, quietly smoothing her skirt as if nothing had happened. But the room was different. People eyed her with a new, subtle respect. Even the silver-haired partner nodded at her. Alex cleared his throat almost awkwardly. "Good instincts," he murmured. Mia blinked, surprised. "I just wanted to help. Most people here would not." He replied, his tone lower than before. Before she could respond, one of the executives raised a glass. "Mr. Grant, shall we discuss the design pitch for the new interface?" At the mention of design, Mia's ears perked up. It was her passion hidden inside the pages of her small notebook. Alex noticed the shift in her expression. "You have thoughts?" he asked quietly but clearly. She startled. I do not want to interrupt." "It is fine. Speak." Mia hesitated. The entire table looked at her now. Her pulse thundered. But she opened her notebook to a page filled with neat sketches. "I was thinking the interface could use warmer tones and rounded edges. Something that feels more welcoming, not just efficient." The executives leaned in. One asked, "Did you draw that?" "Yes," she said softly. Another added, "This is very good." Alex studied her sketches for a long moment, and something in his face slowly shifted. He looked at her as if he was truly seeing her for the first time. Not as his secretary, not as someone simple, but as someone extraordinary. The energy in the room changed, and Mia felt it. What she did not know was that this moment, the broken plates, the sketches, the courage, was the beginning of everything. The night was not over, not even close, and soon she would learn how deeply her presence had shaken the millionaire who once thought she could not possibly shine. The dinner wound down slowly, conversations softening as plates were cleared, and the executives began gathering their coats. Mia closed her notebook, her hands still warm from the unexpected attention her sketches had received. She tried to steady her breathing, reminding herself that she was still just an observer here, still the girl who slipped into the background. But something had changed. She felt it in the way people glanced at her now, in the way the room no longer swallowed her whole. Alex stepped beside her as the last of the partners shook his hand. His voice dropped low, almost careful. "You handled yourself well tonight." Mia blinked. Praise was not something he gave freely. "Thank you, Mr. Grant." He looked as if he wanted to say more, but a soft vibration from his phone pulled him away. He glanced at the screen, then his expression tightened. "Give me a moment. I need to take this call." Mia nodded, watching him step outside into the hallway. The glass door swung shut behind him, leaving her in the empty dining room, with the faint echoes of laughter lingering in the air. She gathered her things, smoothing the pages of her notebook. Her mind replayed every moment of the dinner, every word she had said, every glance she had caught from Alex. It felt unreal, like she had stepped into someone else's life for a night. She exhaled slowly and moved toward the exit. She had just reached the threshold when she slowed her attention, caught by the sound of low voices coming from the hallway. She did not intend to eavesdrop, but her feet stopped anyway. Two executives who had not yet left stood just outside the corner, speaking in hushed tones. "Grant got lucky," one said. "I expected his secretary to be, well, plain, like he said earlier." Mia froze. The other man chuckled. He called her that all week. Simple and plain. I guess he did not expect her to show up looking like that. Heat crawled up her neck. The words stung in a way she was not prepared for. She tried to breathe past it, telling herself it did not matter. But it did. It mattered because she had believed Alex when he looked at her differently tonight. She had believed she was finally being seen. The men continued without noticing her. He probably forgot she was even on the team. Secretaries are interchangeable to him. Mia closed her eyes. Interchangeable. The word sliced deeper than any insult. It was not only the assumption, it was knowing that Alex had said it. Her boss, the man who had stood so close to her tonight, the man who had watched her sketches like they meant something. Suddenly, the glow of the evening felt dimmer, colder. She stepped back into the dining room before they could see her, and waited until their footsteps faded down the hall. When she finally stepped out again, the hallway felt longer, the lights harsher. Alex was still on the phone near the entrance, his brows pulled together in concentration. When he saw her, he lifted a finger, signaling that he needed another moment. She gave a small nod, but something inside her was already pulling away. He ended the call quickly and approached her. "I apologize. That was a time-sensitive issue with our overseas team. Are you ready to head out?" Her voice was steady, but only because she forced it. "Yes." As they walked toward the restaurant doors, the night air rushed in, cool and bracing. Yellow cabs passed along the street headlights, streaking across wet pavement. Alex held the door for her, but she could not bring herself to meet his eyes. He noticed. "Mia, are you all right?" She swallowed. "I am fine." But her voice betrayed the strain. Alex stopped just outside the door, turning toward her. "If something happened during the dinner, I would like to know." She hesitated, the memory of the executive's words sharpening again. For a moment she thought about telling him, about asking him if he really saw her as someone plain and forgettable, but she could not. She would not give him the chance to brush it off or explain it away. Instead, she whispered, "It was a long night. I should head home." Alex searched her face, sensing the shift he could not yet name. But Mia stepped back before he could ask again. "Thank you for letting me assist," she said softly. "Good night, Mr. Grant." She turned and walked toward the street, her steps steady but her heart unsteady. Alex watched her go, confusion tightening in his chest. Something had changed. Something important. He felt it slipping through his fingers, and for the first time in a long time, he worried that he had missed something he should have seen much earlier. He did not know yet that the night had left a crack he would struggle to mend. And he had no idea that by tomorrow that crack would only deepen. Mia walked quickly down the sidewalk, her heels tapping against the concrete as the cool night air wrapped around her. Streetlights glowed overhead, turning the city into soft gold and shadow. She kept her eyes forward, refusing to let the sting behind them turn into tears. The executives' voices replayed like a whisper at the back of her mind. Plain, simple, interchangeable. And worst of all, he said it all week. Her chest tightened. She had hoped, just for one evening, that she had stepped out of the small, invisible corner of her life. But reality had a way of catching up fast. She reached the bus stop, clutching her notebook against her ribs. It was past 10. The next bus would take at least 15 minutes. She sat on the metal bench, feeling the cold sink through her skirt. A message buzzed on her phone. "Alex, are you sure you got home safely?" She stared at the words, her throat tightening. She typed back, "Yes, thank you." Then she turned off the screen. A moment later the phone buzzed again. "Alex, if something is wrong you can tell me." She did not reply. The bus arrived with a hiss of brakes, and Mia stepped on, sliding into a seat near the back. She rested her forehead against the window, watching the city blur into streaks of color. She wondered why she cared so much. He was her boss, a millionaire. Someone with a life so high above hers that they might as well live on different planets. Yet tonight, when he had looked at her, really looked, she had believed there was something honest in his eyes. Something human. Maybe she had imagined it. By the time she reached her stop, exhaustion draped over her shoulders like a heavy coat. She walked the 2 blocks to her apartment, the streetlights flickering over the cracked sidewalk. Her building stood tired and leaning slightly to one side, a reminder of the hundreds of nights spent stretching her paychecks thin. She climbed the narrow stairwell, letting herself into her small, dimly lit apartment. The scent of old carpet and the quiet hum of her refrigerator greeted her. She tossed her bag onto the couch and sat at the tiny kitchen table, letting her body finally sag. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was not Alex. It was the hospital. A reminder of her mother's appointment. Another bill she could barely afford. Another weight added to a pile already crushing her. She closed her eyes and whispered to the empty room, "You have to keep going." She opened her notebook, flipping to the sketch she had shown during the dinner. The rounded edges, the warm colors, the welcoming interface. For a brief shining moment, people in that room had seen value in her ideas. Maybe that was why the executive's words hurt so much. Because tonight she had allowed herself to hope. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She startled. It was late, almost 11. She crossed the room cautiously and looked through the peephole. Her breath caught. Alex Grant stood in the hallway, still in his suit, one hand braced against the doorframe as if he had been standing there for a while. Mia's heart thudded once hard. She opened the door slowly. "Mr. Grant," she asked, her voice quiet. He exhaled in visible relief. "You were not answering my messages. I wanted to make sure you were all right." Her fingers curled around the edge of the door. "You did not have to come all the way here." He shook his head. "I did." For a moment neither of them spoke. The hallway light flickered gently, casting warm shadows across his face. His expression was tense, almost troubled. "Mia," he said softly, "something happened tonight. I know it, and I know I might be the cause." She felt the words like a tremor along her spine. She stepped back. "I think it is better if we talk tomorrow." He looked pained, as if he wanted to insist, but he stopped himself. He nodded once. "All right, tomorrow," he agreed. He hesitated before turning away. "Good night, Mia." She closed the door, slowly leaning her forehead against the wood. Tomorrow. She did not know whether that word felt like a promise or a storm waiting to break. But she knew one thing for certain. Alex Grant would not let the night end here, and neither would the truth he did not yet realize he owed her. The next morning arrived colder than usual, the kind of morning that made every window in Mia's apartment fog over. She woke with a heaviness in her chest, the events of the night replaying in her mind before she even sat up. She dressed quietly, choosing a simple blouse and cardigan, the safest armor she had. When she stepped outside, the city was still shaking off the last traces of dawn. The ride to the office felt unsettlingly quiet. Mia kept her gaze lowered, her hands gripping her notebook as if it could anchor her. She walked through the glass doors of Grant Innovations right at 8, hoping to slip into her desk unnoticed. But Alex was already waiting. He stood near her workstation, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up as if he had been there for a while. When he saw her, relief softened his features. "Mia," he said, stepping forward. "We need to talk." She forced a polite nod. "Good morning, Mr. Grant." His jaw tensed slightly at the formality. "Please. In my office." A few employees glanced their way, sensing the tension, but Mia followed him silently. The door closed behind them with a soft click, sealing the room in quiet. Alex turned to face her. His eyes held something she did not expect: regret. "I asked you last night if something happened at the dinner," he began. "You said it was better to talk today. So talk to me, Mia. Please." She lifted her chin, choosing her words carefully. "I heard something I was not meant to hear." He froze. "What did you hear?" Mia took a steady breath. "Two of the executives said you called me plain, that you called me simple, and that secretaries are interchangeable to you." The silence that followed was heavy. Alex's face shifted from confusion to realization to something close to shame. "Mia," he whispered, "I never meant, but you said it." She replied gently, her voice soft but firm. "You said those words." He dragged a hand through his hair, stepping back as if the truth physically struck him. "I did," he admitted. "I said it without thinking. I said it because I was careless, and because I have been blind to how my words affect people." Mia looked down at her notebook. "I know I am not from your world, and I know I do not shine the way people around you do." But hearing that still hurt, Alex took a slow breath, his voice raw. "You do shine, Mia. I was the one who failed to see it." She did not respond, unsure how to process the sincerity in his tone. He continued quietly. "When you walked into that dinner last night, when you spoke, when you showed your designs, I realized how wrong I have been. I realized I never really looked at you, and I am sorry." The apology settled between them, real and unforced. Mia's heartbeat eased, though the wound had not fully closed. She nodded once. "Thank you for saying that." Alex hesitated, then added, "I would like to make things right. Not with words, but with actions. You deserve that." Before she could ask what he meant, someone knocked on the office door, interrupting the moment. Alex glanced toward it, frustration flickering across his face. "We will finish this conversation," he said softly. Mia stepped back, gathering herself. "I should get to work." She walked out of the office with her emotions tangled, unsure of what to feel. But one thing was certain. The distance between them had cracked open, and what came next would change everything. The rest of the morning moved slowly, each hour stretching longer than the last. Mia tried to bury herself in work, typing schedules and sorting files, but her mind kept drifting back to Alex's words. His apology had been sincere, too sincere. It unsettled her more than the insult itself. Around noon she stepped into the break room to make coffee, needing a moment alone. The room hummed softly with the sound of the old machine filling the air with the scent of roasted beans. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the mug calm her hands. When she turned, Alex was standing in the doorway. She gasped lightly, startled. "Mr. Grant, I did not hear you come in. I did not mean to sneak up on you," he said, stepping inside. "I just wanted to check on you." Her fingers tightened around the mug. "I am all right." He studied her for a moment before responding. "You do not have to pretend with me." She looked away, unsure how to navigate the sudden gentleness in his voice. For so long he had been distant, all business and cold precision. Now he spoke like a man trying to cross a gap he had ignored for too long. Alex cleared his throat. "I was thinking about what you said earlier, about the way I described you." Mia stayed silent. "I was wrong," he continued quietly. "I said something careless because I never took the time to see who you actually are. And that is my failure, not yours." Her chest tightened, not with anger this time, but something heavier. "People say things," she whispered. "It happens, but it should not have happened from me," he replied. "Especially not to someone who works as hard as you do." Mia felt her breath stall for a moment. She had never heard him speak like this. Not to her, not to anyone. She tried to move past him, but he took a careful step forward. "Please wait." She paused. "I have been thinking about the sketches you showed at the dinner," he said. "Those ideas were better than most of the concepts my design team presented this quarter." Her eyes widened. "You do not have to say that." "I am not saying it out of pity," he replied firmly. "I am saying it because it is true." Silence wrapped around them, warm and fragile. Finally, Mia looked up at him. "I do not know what you want from me." He held her gaze, his voice low. "I want to fix what I broke." Mia's heartbeat echoed in her ears. Part of her wanted to trust him. Another part remembered every time she had been overlooked or dismissed. Before she could respond, a voice called from the hallway. "Mr. Grant, your 2 o'clock meeting is waiting." Alex's jaw tensed with frustration, but he stepped aside. "We will talk again, I promise." Mia brushed past him, the scent of his cologne lingering for a moment. She walked back to her desk, feeling the air shift around her. Something was unfolding slowly, quietly, but unmistakably. Alex returned to his office, but he looked back once, watching her with an expression she could not decipher. And somewhere deep inside, a change had begun. Not loud, not sudden, but real, and neither of them could ignore it much longer. That afternoon the office felt strangely tense, as if every sound echoed just a little louder. Mia tried to stay focused on the tasks in front of her, but her thoughts drifted again and again to Alex's voice in the break room. His apology, his sincerity, his promise to make things right. She shook her head, forcing herself to concentrate. She was halfway through organizing a stack of documents when she heard firm footsteps approaching. Before she could look up, a sharp voice cut through the quiet. "So you are the one everyone is talking about." Mia turned to see Victoria Hale, the head of design, standing with her arms crossed. Victoria's reputation was well known across the company, brilliant, competitive, and protective of her team. Her gaze swept over Mia from head to toe. "I heard you showed your little drawings at the dinner last night," Victoria said. "Interesting choice." Mia stiffened. "I did not intend to interrupt. Mr. Grant asked to see them." Victoria's lips curved into a thin smile. "Of course he did." There was something unsettling in her tone, something that made Mia take a small step back. "Just do me a favor," Victoria continued. "Stay in your lane. Secretaries do not pitch ideas. That is not how this works." A cold weight settled in Mia's stomach. She opened her mouth to respond, but another voice spoke first. "Victoria." Alex stood behind her, his expression unreadable. Victoria straightened. "Alex, I was just explaining. I heard what you said," he interrupted calmly but firmly. "And you are mistaken." Victoria faltered. "I was only trying to maintain structure." "Mia's sketches were insightful," Alex said, "and she has every right to share her talent." The room went silent. Victoria's eyes widened slightly before she quickly masked her surprise. "If that is how you want to run things." "It is," he said. "Thank you. That will be all." Victoria turned her heels, clicking sharply as she walked away. When she disappeared around the corner, Alex faced Mia. "I am sorry you had to deal with that," he said quietly. Mia tried to speak, but the moment felt too surreal. She managed only a small nod. "It is all right. It is not," Alex replied. "You did nothing wrong." His voice softened. "You were brave last night. And you were brilliant. I should have defended you sooner." Her heart tightened at the unexpected warmth in his tone. She looked away, but he noticed the sheen in her eyes. "Mia," he said softly, "you are not simple. You are not interchangeable. I should never have used those words." She swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." He took a small step closer. "I want to show you something. When you finish your work, come to the 5th floor. There is something I think you need to see." Before she could ask what he meant, he turned and walked away, leaving her with a pounding heart and 1,000 questions. The rest of the afternoon passed in fragments. Every minute stretched longer as anticipation built inside her. When the clock finally hit 4, she gathered her things and made her way to the elevator. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed the button for the 5th floor. When the doors opened, the hallway was quiet. Soft studio lighting glowed beneath tall windows. She followed the faint sound of footsteps and turned into an open space she had never been in before. And then she stopped breathing. The room was filled with large presentation boards, her designs, her sketches, her ideas cleaned, digitized, and displayed as if for a real pitch. Alex stood beside them. He looked up when she entered, a small, hopeful smile on his face. "I told you," he said gently. "I want to fix what I broke." Mia stared at the boards, her notebook clutched against her chest. This was not a gesture of politeness. This was something bigger, something real, and she felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Mia stepped slowly into the room, her breath unsteady as she moved closer to the display boards. Each sketch, once nothing more than pencil lines in her notebook, had been refined, cleaned, and mounted with care. Color palettes she had only imagined were now printed in rich tones. Interface layouts she had scribbled between lunch breaks were displayed as if they belonged in a professional presentation. Her voice trembled. "You did all of this," Alex nodded. "I stayed late last night. I took photos of your sketches when you set your notebook down at the dinner table. I hope you do not mind." She shook her head, stunned. "Why would you do that?" "Because you deserve to see what your ideas look like when the world takes them seriously," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes gave him away. He was nervous. "And because you deserve someone who sees you." "I did not." Not until it was almost too late. Mia turned toward him fully. The gentle lighting cast a soft glow across the room, making the moment feel strangely intimate, suspended outside the rhythm of a normal workday. "You did not have to go this far," she whispered. "I know," Alex replied. "But I wanted to. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The weight of his words lingered in the quiet space, mixing with the warmth rising in her chest. She traced her fingers lightly along the edge of one presentation board, hardly recognizing the bold professional version of her own work. "This is real," she murmured. "Yes," Alex said gently. "It is real, and it is yours." Mia turned back to him, the emotion in her eyes impossible to hide. "Why are you doing this for me? Is it because you feel guilty? Because you said something careless?" "No," he answered without hesitation. "I am doing this because your work is good. Better than good. You are talented, Mia. I just failed to notice it sooner." He paused, his voice lowering. "And I regret that more than you know." Her chest tightened. She could feel the sincerity in every word he spoke. Alex stepped closer, careful but deliberate. "I want to offer you something. A chance. A real one." Mia's breath caught. "What kind of chance?" "A junior design position," he said. "Part-time to start while we transition your current duties. You would work directly with the design team." "With me," he hesitated, then added, "only if you want it." Shock rippled through her. This was more than she had ever dreamed of. More than anything she had imagined when sketching late at night in her apartment, but emotion surged quickly afterward, warming her, then overwhelming her. She pressed a hand against her chest, forcing herself to breathe. "Alex," she whispered, "I do not know what to say." "You do not have to say anything right now," he told her gently. "Just know the offer is real. You earned it. This is not pity. This is recognition." A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She turned away, embarrassed, but Alex stepped closer. "Mia," he said softly, "you are allowed to be proud. You should be." She wiped her cheek, smiling through the tears. "I just never thought someone like you would believe in someone like me." He shook his head. "Do not say that. Someone like you is exactly who I should have noticed from the beginning." Her heart thudded once hard. In that quiet fifth-floor studio, surrounded by the proof of her hidden talent, something shifted between them, gentle, undeniable, and new. For the first time, Mia felt seen. For the first time, Alex allowed himself to feel, and neither of them tried to hide it anymore. Mia stood in the center of the room, still surrounded by the boards that held her transformed sketches. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from something she had not felt in a long time: possibility. Real possibility. She turned toward Alex, her expression soft but steady. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Alex stepped closer, careful not to overwhelm the fragile moment between them. "Now," he said, "you take the weekend to think. The offer will be waiting for you on Monday. Whatever you decide, I will respect it." She nodded slowly, absorbing every word. "And what about us? Whatever this is." Alex's breath caught. He had not expected her to ask it so directly. He ran a hand along the edge of one display, grounding himself before he answered. "That depends on you," he said. "I do not want to rush you or make you feel pressured. But I will be honest, Mia." His voice lowered, sincere and steady. "Last night when you walked into that dinner, I froze, because I realized how badly I had underestimated you. And today, standing here, I realize I do not want to make that mistake ever again." Warmth spread through her chest, gentle and overwhelming all at once. "I just need time," she whispered. "You can have all the time you need," he replied. The moment lingered between them, delicate and full of unspoken meaning. Then Mia stepped closer, closing the space just enough for her words to reach him clearly. "Thank you for seeing me." Alex's eyes softened. "Thank you for letting me." They walked out of the studio together, the soft hallway lights guiding them toward the elevator. When the doors opened, he let her step in first. He did not reach for her hand, and she did not offer it. Not yet, but something unspoken traveled between them, trust new and tentative but real. The elevator descended quietly. When they reached the lobby, Alex held the door open for her. She paused, offering him a small, genuine smile. "I will see you Monday," she said. "I will be here," he answered. And with that, Mia stepped out into the cool afternoon air, her heart lighter, her future no longer a distant dream but a path forming right beneath her feet. She looked down at her notebook, the same one she had carried every day, and smiled to herself. For the first time she believed she belonged somewhere bigger. For the first time she believed she could shine. And somewhere above, watching from the glass windows of the building, Alex Grant allowed himself to hope that this new beginning was not just hers but theirs.